continue, check the description and download a free CD package. It includes prelims test series, mains test series, and Samachar Manthan recommended by toppers. Also get a free mentorship call by senior IAS mentors. Hurry up.
मुझे स्टार्टिंग में ऐसे लगता था कि ऑप्शनल इज कॉल्ड ऑप्शनल बिकॉज इट्स एन ऑप्शनल थिंग वी कैन ईदर टेक इट और नॉट टेक इट कीप योर बेसिक्स राइट आई वुड से basics is very very important so Samachar Manthan was one program that gelled very well with me.
Hi guys, this is Sukanya Rana and welcome to the Unheard series. And this session, we are connecting with Abhijit Ray. He has secured All India Rank 50 this year. And trust me, this is not an easy feat. It actually needs a lot of hard work, a lot of perseverance, and a lot of determination. And that is what our topper this time stands for. You talk to him, he tells you all the important details about how he's covered this journey. And he's also so humble that when I was talking to him, he was talking about his mistakes and everything. And one of the good things also is Abhijit Ray has also been connected with CivilsDaily long time back, and we're really proud to have him here. And let's hope that this interview helps you understand how his journey went and you guys learn from his mistakes. So welcome Abhijit, how are you?
Thank you ma'am, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm good ma'am. Thank you.
And how's life after All India Rank 50?
The day the result came, life changed 180 degree, but to sum it up, I would say that it's a very humbling and overwhelming experience, but it also is a realization of the fact that all of this is a debt that we have to pay back to society. The love, the respect that we get as people who managed to get, I would use the word managed to get a good rank. The love and respect is something that we need to pay back with good service. So it's a debt, I would say.
Okay, nice. So Abhijit, let's start from the initial thing here. How did this UPSC Kida got into you? Like, were you starting only that I'm going to become an IAS officer?
No, absolutely not. So I passed out in 2016 and joined a very good company called Texas Instruments in Bangalore as a former engineer. So at that time I had no intention of joining the civil services. In fact, it was a negative intention. I was like 2 साल काम करेंगे, फिर मास्टर्स करने जाएंगे, यूएस में सेटल होंगे, वहाँ पे किसी से शादी करेंगे, and life बहुत chill होगा. But then what happened is that few things, like my manager who was in Texas Instruments, he was a lot into social work, so blood donation camps and all these things. So he was a lot even in office. So that somehow, and I was very close to him right from the day I started my preparation. He was aware of the fact that I was prepared, and he was my manager, and it was a strict sort of a job. So that was my relationship. That was one. The second thing was I was a lot into CSR activities of Texas Instruments. So I traveled around Karnataka a lot, and this is in the initial 1 or 2 years. I traveled around Karnataka a lot doing CSR. TA has a good CSR program. That was the second thing. And third thing is that now I realize that this would have rubbed off on me, that my father is in medical administration. He's retired now. He is the chief medical officer of health of Darjeeling district for a long time. So I think the combination of these three somehow indirectly brought that Kira, as you said, in my mind. But it was never ever like a dream कि यही करना है life में, ऐसा बिल्कुल ही नहीं. I even in my profile I have written that engineer by choice, IAS by chance, and that is what defines me really.
But Abhijit, this paper is so difficult. I don't think anything happens here by chance. Like
No, it doesn't.
Initially you have to get that regda. मतलब वो जब तक लगेगा नहीं, उसके बाद ठीक है, थोड़ा एक point के बाद there might be some chances that come into play. But that initial ragda has to go in.
Bilkul. That initial thing came with chance, but then after I decided that this is what I'm going to do, I was like I realized very well that my presentation and few other skills were better than sort of others. So I thought that if I have to use my capabilities and qualities, I would rather do it for my country rather than for some other foreign company. And then if I have to do it for my country, why not do it, or at least try to clear this exam where you can do it at the top level of the government. So that was my mentality. So it was like that. But it requires a lot of rigor though. Once I decided that I have to do it, I mean, obviously there were a lot of mistakes, but once things got into the flow, it was no looking back. There was a lot of sacrifice, a lot of hard work. I'm sure that was with everyone.
Yeah, so basically you did not started somewhere in colleges because आजकल there's this trend that people start from their 10th class, they start from their 12th class, and they have this backup of 4 or 5 years, and then there's their first attempt. So you were somebody who started later on?
Yeah, because I did it when मेरे अंदर से आया. मुझे लगता है ये एक ऐसा एग्जाम है वो पेरेंट्स के पुश वगैरह से होता नहीं. I know so many people who went into this journey of trying to clear this exam because of some external push, and then they ended up being depressed and wasting some time. This is something that I believe should come from within, and it came from within in my 2018, early 2018, and that is when I started this preparation. It was never planned before that.
Okay, so somewhere you're starting with job, so you were a working professional at that point of time. So that is also a very big thing because time is a major factor. आपके पास time नहीं होगा पूरा करने का. जैसे एक बच्चा है वो 14-15 घंटे निकाल रहा है दिन के, और आप ज्यादा से ज्यादा 6, मतलब I think 6 is
14-15 घंटे तो मैं जॉब छोड़ने के बाद भी नहीं निकाल पाया, वो अलग बात है. बट हाँ, मतलब yeah, there was paucity of time, obviously.
हाँ.
Yeah.
तो आइडिया इज कि आप कैसे, मतलब क्योंकि सडनली व्हेन यू स्टार्ट यू कंफ्यूज्ड, देयर इज इन्फ्लक्स ऑफ, सो आजकल तो इंफॉर्मेशन इज लाइक heading towards you from every direction. ये भी कर लो, ये भी कर लो, वो भी कर लो. So how do you manage एकदम suddenly there's so much syllabus to cover, current affairs, something that is so huge, and plus you're working also. So how did you start, and how did you start to make sense of this preparation in the initial phase?
2018, the form came out in February. I filled up the form, and then after that, sort of my interest went down. I thought like, अब पढ़ेंगे 1-2 महीने में. तब कुछ पता ही नहीं था ना. मुझे स्टार्टिंग में ऐसे लगता था कि optional is called optional because it's an optional thing. We can either take it or not take it. That was my initially when I had filled up the form. So I've come a long way since then. But the point I'm trying to make is it took me a lot of time to even get warmed up to do this exam, at least in a right sort of direction. I would say that one of the mistakes that I made is I did not take any guidance or coaching or any mentorship or anything in the initial days. And like you were mentioning, right, this is such a huge ocean, lot of material from many sides. Everyone has their own opinion of how they should be done. It's very important that you remain focused and driven, and I think one of the good ways is to join coaching in the initial, at least in the initial days. I did it 1 year later. I did it with CivilsDaily only, with the Samachar Manthan program. But before that, I was not doing anything. So my first attempt was completely like, it was all over the place. I did not know what hit me in the prelims paper, and obviously I could not clear it by a huge margin. So yeah, it took me a long time to understand.
So Abhijit, I think one thing that you mentioned here is very important, because see, the pattern of examination is changing. Nowadays, we don't need somebody to teach us the whole subject, I think. Like we can pick up the books and we can understand. But the direction that is required, like what to read, what not to read, how to synthesize the mains question, I think that is something is gaining a lot more importance, I think.
Yeah.
The mentorship idea.
Yeah, the coaching se mentorship wala jo idea hai, that is getting a lot of traction. You are very right, yes.
And like you said, through Samachar Manthan, you were able to understand can you explain how did Samachar Manthan help you out? Because a lot of students who, are somebody who started new. And the thing is, I think you were, honestly speaking, you were a bright student. Like I went through your DAF. So I'm seeing that you already got good marks in the earlier stages. And
12 वाला आपने देखा नहीं होगा ना फिर.
नहीं वो भी देखो 80s 85 के ऊपर था वो भी.
89 था, but compared to others तो कम ही था. But हाँ, मतलब yeah.
So you're a very bright student. तो
People
आपके लिए
call me that, but ऐसा नहीं है.
तो मतलब आपके लिए I think understanding and going through is very easy. But a lot of students have different levels also. So I think mentorship and programs like Samachar Manthan, I think they play a very important role. What do you think about that, Kush?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, like you were mentioning the approach, right? And how one inculcates that approach, that also depends on the potential, or I would not say potential, but the capabilities, inherent capabilities of that person. So Samachar Manthan was one program that gelled very well with me, in the sense that the way the program was structured, I mean, you have weekly current affairs classes, which is divided into science and the other parts, very holistically covers whatever comes in the week. And then there is a 10 question paper, which you solve and then you upload, and then they give you the answer back. So what you're doing is you are solving current affairs from a prelims and mains perspective, and also you are most importantly developing the art of answer writing. because I mean, any person you ask in this who is in this journey will tell you that answer writing is probably the most important skill, because 1750 marks is dependent on that. So that is one skill that I would say I sharpened through Samachar Manthan. I don't think I did much of any improvement in my 2021 or 20 attempt from GS answer writing perspective. Obviously, anthropology was another mistake in 2020, but GS answer writing, I think I sharpened. Even I would say essay also, because essay program also I had joined. So the answer writing part I really honed up through the Samachar Manthan program. The program is designed very beautifully actually. I don't know recently what are the changes, but when in my time there was the GS portion done weekly, and then weekly you had 10 question tests, which is again divided into 15 marks and 10 mark questions. So you have a very snapshot of the UPSC mains every week. That is very important to keep you in the right direction.
It's like somewhat same like that right only now. But we've got a couple of different teachers, many experts from different field coming into it. So that was about some of the ideas with mentorship. Let's move on to something interesting here. Let's start from the first stage. Let's talk about prelims. So first two prelims you did not clear. Third prelims, it was just a margin jump, like 1 or 2 marks.
No, 0.7 marks. 92.5, 93.2 was my marks.
Okay, 0.7 marks, you got a jump. And suddenly in the fourth prelims, you've got 118.
Yeah.
So what magic did you create in the fourth attempt that this prelims jump happened?
I can try to be smart and tell you that I did a lot of things right, because it was 3 years of mistakes which I knew not to do. Maybe categorization of current affairs, studying, revising a lot, doing a lot of mock tests in the 2 months. But to be very honest, prelims is one stage that if you ask me after my 4 attempts what exactly is needed, I cannot tell you, because seeing the 2021 and more so 2022 paper, I am very confused what exactly UPSC wants. It's all over the place. Maybe you have to keep a cool mind and all those things are there, but from an academic perspective, what exactly do you want? I don't know. But I think the mistakes that I made early on, I did not make the mistakes again. So 118 it came, and I was pleasantly surprised by my marks. I had calculated obviously that it would be above 115, but I was pleasantly surprised. I think not doing the mistakes like not practicing much or not categorizing your current affairs. There, in every paper in the GS1 prelims, there are some hot topics or there are some high yield topics. For example, the newspapers in the modern history or the important Congress sessions and all these things. Learning the cities of India from left to capital cities of India from west to east or from north to south. These things, if you inculcate or integrate in your mind, you'll be able to indirectly solve a lot of questions. So such things, and that comes with wisdom. I mean, that comes with, you cannot expect a newbie or a person giving it in the first attempt to do it. So that's why I have a huge respect for people who manage to clear this in their first attempt.
Okay. So if you would say a newcomer, give him 3 advice regarding prelims, like something that they have to do before attempting prelims. Like right now they have 1 year of gap for the next prelims. So what would you say that these are the 3 main important things that you have to do for prelims to clear prelims next year?
Keep your basics right, I would say. Basics is very important. In fact, I saw 2022 paper, economics mein, they were asking some technical questions which are taken from, the concept is technically taken from the NCERTs. So again, NCERT reading, which is again very basic, that becomes important. That's one. Secondly, I would say practice a lot. With practice, you will be able to find what is your sweet spot, what is your accuracy. And the third thing is try to find the answer rather than know the answer, because in UPSC, many questions can be solved that way. Although 2022 paper was a little disheartening in that respect. I mean, there were questions like, ma'am, that's only 1 pair is correct, only 2 pair is correct, 3 pair and 4 pair. So the elimination technique itself is sort of eliminated. But I mean, I keep saying that it's whatever is in your hands, you do that well. Apart from that, rest you can leave up to the gentleman who's up there. So
Okay. Moving on to mains. So mains is something interesting here. That number one thing, that this was your first mains. Second mains. Right? And in the first mains, you were not able to qualify. And in the second mains, you got really good score. Now, again, there's a huge jump there. Suddenly, I think second time you're performing very nicely.
That is because the ego came in the middle. in the sense
Okay.
that first two attempts, I now knowing what I know now, I know that it wasn't a serious attempt. Third attempt, I had left my job by then. So March 2020, I left my job, and then COVID happened, and then I got those 4 extra months, which sort of helped me to clear prelims. And but mains, at least anthropology section, I screwed up because it was my first time and I was doing the approach wrong. In my fourth attempt, I felt insulted, that I felt that I had insulted myself, that I am not getting serious enough, and I did a lot of hard work just because of that anger inside. So one thing is that, ma'am, what kept me going in these 4 long attempts is the crystal clarity that I am not giving my 100%. In my fourth attempt, also, I will not say that I was able to give my 100%. We never are, but I did a lot of things right, which I had promised myself. In fact, just to give you a small anecdote, in the last paper of 2020 attempt, the anthropology paper 2, I knew very well that I'm not going to do well. So I left the last 10 minutes. And in the last page of the question paper, the question paper, Alex, you can take that out. I made my strategy that these are the mistakes that I'm not going to do. I promised myself. I still have that paper with me. That the second paper of anthropology paper 2, I sat down in the exam hall, and last 10 minutes I made the strategy that come YouTube में time waste करेंगे, revise बहुत ज़्यादा करेंगे, and all these
So
things.
instead of doing the paper, you were making your next year
because
strategy.
I knew that होने नहीं वाला है वही GS तक, क्योंकि पेपर 1 वैसे खराब गया था, and पेपर 2 में भी प्रिपरेशन उतना था नहीं. And again, I had realized 1 month before the mains exam that I am writing like a generalist and I'm not going to get good marks. वो mock test में समझ आ गया था, and it was too less of a time to make the amendment. Okay. So not making the mistakes has been the hallmark of my long journey. Not making the same mistake twice, because it's human to make mistakes, but it's an insult to yourself to make the same mistake twice, I would say.
That's actually inspiring. Like, this is something I've taken a lot of interviews over the course of years, but this is for the first time that I'm listening to a topper that he's making his strategy right in the mains paper for the next year.
बहुत बुरा लगा था मुझे उस टाइम में, मतलब I don't care if someone else insults or makes me feel down. I made myself feel down because I was not giving my 100%. So that was like, it became a very personal thing for me. Okay. So yeah, that's.
So I think that thing reflected in your mains marks in 2021, because you've got 134 in essay, you've got 112 in both GS1 and 2. Then GS3 took a bit of a dip. But I guess this year we've been seeing a lot of low scores in GS3. So I have
77 जितना low score तो नहीं, but
हाँ, but आपने उसके manage कर लिया. 4 में आप 105 ले आए, फिर optional में आपके 274. So good amount of coverage here. The one thing that I want to ask with respect to mains is essay. क्योंकि essay, a lot of newcomers are confused कि philosophical essay में करना क्या है? How do you write a philosophical essay? They are very, very confused. So can you just give your strategy of how do you tackle it? Because a simple essay factual आता है तो आप pro लिख दोगे, con लिख दोगे, features लिख दोगे, थोड़े examples यहाँ से ले
approach ले लोगे, political, economic, social.
Exactly. But वो वाली चीज आपकी इस philosophical essays में कैसे बैठेगी? How do you do that?
Just before answering, I'd like to give a disclaimer that I come from ICSE background. So writing creatively has naturally come to me, and I believe it's one of my strong points. So to be very honest, essay is one paper that anyways essay में कम मेहनत से ज़्यादा मार्क्स आने का चांस होता है, but इसमें मुझे और एवरेज स्टूडेंट से भी कम मेहनत लगा है, but the thing is, you should know what your strengths and weaknesses are. In my case, my weakness was the philosophical essay, relative weakness. I would say that again, I had joined the CivilsDaily 2019 का essay program. उसमें मेरा essay writing speed was up to the mark, and उसके बाद मैंने ज़्यादा मेहनत करने का ज़रूरत नहीं पड़ा. It was just during those 3 months before mains 3-4-5-6 essay तीन चार essay लिख लिया. But ma'am, philosophical essay, like you ask, I know why you're asking this, because 2021 almost all the 8 essays were philosophical. Like I have this theory that UPSC asked Socrates and Plato to come and set the question paper because it was like that only. So और वो जो strategies that you were saying कि pros, cons, pastel approach, ये सब लगा नहीं. The basic thing that worked is being able to express yourself with simple words. So that became, I think, the hallmark of my essay in this attempt. But I kept it very simple, ma'am, in the sense that I practiced. there is a very good lecture on YouTube on CivilsDaily only. I had referred that how to tackle philosophical essays. उसमें सर बहुत अच्छे से कहते हैं कि how it is different from the other sort of essays. So I think that is one thing that I inculcated. I practiced philosophical essays more than the other essays, because other essay, again, here comes ki you need to know where your strengths are. My strength was the other type of essay, so उसको completely neglect नहीं किया, लेकिन कम किया मेहनत उसमें. इसमें ज़्यादा मेहनत करना पड़ा. So that is what I would say. I cannot go into the specifics because even I don't remember the specifics, because creative writing came very naturally to me. But ma'am, essay paper, this time essay paper, मतलब sometimes होता है ना कि you know that there is some higher power controlling you or something, एक feel आता है. The essay paper, it was a 3-hour paper, na, this time 2021. I started with the section B wala essay, which is the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. I wrote around 4-5 pages, and then I don't know what happened. It has never happened to me in my life. I went blank for 10 minutes. Just 10 minutes I wasted out there, sitting ki kya hoga. I don't know, some panic got to me or anything. And this is where I think that some higher power or someone else was controlling me. I went back to section A. I wrote the section A wala essay that technology, the power of self-discovery has been technology outsourced or something like that. उसको पूरा लिखा और अच्छे से लिखा. मुझे उस टाइम अच्छा लगा कि काफी अच्छा लिखा है. Then I came back to section B wala. I finished the section B wala essay that I had left in the middle, and somehow in that crunch of time I managed to get 135. So I don't know what happened to me at that time, and I feel that someone else was controlling me. Otherwise, I cannot explain how in a UPSC paper this can happen. But I believe the basic strength of being able to express myself in simple words, that helped a lot. Okay. And practice.
Simplicity, I guess that is one area.
Very important.
And again, creative writing practice. Like for somebody who's a beginner, what would you suggest? Pick up previous year question papers and start solving them with respect to
previous
essay?
year question paper देखो, या फिर कोई topper के essay copy देखो. फिर you start writing. The first essay that you're going to write will be your worst. But then the trick is not to give up at that time.
Right.
Join a good essay enrichment program or essay guidance program. There is nothing stopping one from doing that, and it actually helps. It has helped me. I had inherent good writing skills, but that brought me a one notch higher to be able to exploit my writing skills in the way UPSC wants. Very important, in the way UPSC wants. Value addition in answers, in essays. For example, if you're writing about something, and ये वो सर ने ही बोला था जो CivilsDaily वाले सर थे, कि there was this one example he gave that if you're writing about, let's say, women empowerment, and you want to write 3-4 paragraphs and you want to give a subheading, तो women empowerment एक ऐसा चीज है कि we are sort of doing it right, but इधर उधर hiccups हो रहा है हमारा इंडिया में. We are not able to get everything right, but overall, since independence, we have been going on a positive trajectory. So one way to give a good subheading of this is women empowerment, losing the battle but winning the war. So this is a very interesting sort of a way to sum up this entire thought. So stuff like that. These things are very catchy, because the people who are correcting the answers are also human beings. They are correcting 100 essays in a day. So how do you stand out? And that has been my strategy in all the papers, and Anthro, GSV, sab kuch. I in fact downloaded some random answer script of 50 pages, got it printed, and I tried to evaluate it myself just to see how I feel when I evaluate that answer. And then I realized, if someone doesn't come to the point early on, then that irritates me. If someone has very, very poor handwriting, that irritates me. If someone doesn't give subheadings or bullets, that irritates me, because I have to search for where to give him marks. So you have to help the examiner.
That is like a very nice thing you said, because when I'm discussing mains copy with students, I am like, think from the examiner perspective. अगर मुझे आपके आंसर में पॉइंट ढूंढना पड़ रहा है तो मुझे तो गुस्सा आएगा ना, मैं क्यों मार्क्स दूंगी आपको?
क्योंकि you are correcting 50 answer scripts, not just one answer script. आपके लिए that's the exam, but उनके लिए there are 50 other answer scripts ना. So
exactly. तो मतलब एग्जामिनर को एकदम आपके एकदम प्लेटर पे वो सजा के नहीं भेजते, वैसे देना पड़ता है.
And you see any toppers answer scripts, वो प्लेटर में सजा के देते हैं points, और then टक मार्क्स मिलते हैं.
Exactly, तभी मिलेंगे, क्योंकि आपको एग्जामिनर की लाइफ इजी करनी है. That is very important. Nice. So that is a very nice thing that you said actually here. अच्छा, GS में एक current affairs plays a very important role. So I know what you're going to say here with respect to current affairs, but what was your strategy? क्योंकि current affairs again people are very confused. वो कहते हैं ये magazine कर लेते हैं, हम वो कर लेते हैं, फिर हम इधर का भी एक पता नहीं कोई random source उठा लेंगे, ये वीडियो देख लेंगे, पता नहीं 3-4 न्यूज़पेपर रख लिए. तो what do you think is
न्यूज़पेपर तो मैम मैंने मतलब it's a mistake, but मैंने पढ़ा नहीं था newspaper. I used to do it from compilations. But again, I was part of समाचार मंथन, तो जरूरत actually नहीं पड़ा था because current affairs completely covered हो जाता है इसमें. And in a very good prelims mains perspective से. But going forward, if I have to advise someone, in my humble opinion, newspaper reading is becoming very, very important because there are some trends that sort of newspaper के basis पे आपके दिमाग में रह जाता है. और एंड एक और चीज मैम कि करंट अफेयर्स देयर इज नो प्रेडिक्शन दैट ये यहाँ से आएगा एंड समथिंग लाइक दैट, कहीं से भी आ सकता है. यू नेवर नो वेयर द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन कम्स फ्रॉम. आई रिमेंबर इन 2020 और 2021 प्रीवियस पेपर देयर वाज दिस क्वेश्चन अबाउट लेमन ग्रास बीइंग अ नेचुरल एंटीसेप्टिक और समथिंग लाइक दैट. वो लेमन ग्रास का रूम फ्रेशनर मैंने अमेज़न से ऑर्डर किया था 3-4 साल पहले. वो दिमाग में रह गया था कि वो मार्केट करते हैं ना, दिस इज अ नेचुरल इंसेक्टिसाइड एंड ऑल. तो बड़ा अच्छा लगा था, दिमाग में रह गया था. दैट हेल्प मी आंसर अ क्वेश्चन. इंटरव्यू में भी व्हेन यू आस्क अबाउट इंटरव्यू, आई विल गिव अ लाइक कीपिंग योर आईज एंड ईयर्स ओपन. दैट इज बिकमिंग मोर एंड मोर इंपॉर्टेंट these days. Not being that bookish bookworm history type कि सिर्फ और सिर्फ बुक वाला मुझे पता है, उससे आजकल it's becoming more and more difficult to do well in this exam, I would say.
True, exactly. I think that is one thing that is very important. Acha, so matlab basically the idea is you can stick to few sources with respect to current affairs.
Few sources, have faith in that and revise more and more.
And the idea is keep your eyes open to other things that are happening around you as well.
स्पोर्ट्स के वो टेस्ट चैंपियनशिप पूछा, ओलंपिक्स के बारे में पूछा. वो एनीवन हु रीड्स द न्यूज़पेपर विद क्यूरियोसिटी रादर देन सिर्फ मुझे प्रीलिम्स रिलेटेड या मेंस रिलेटेड यूपीएससी का पढ़ना है, जो एनीवन हु रीड्स विद नेचुरल क्यूरियोसिटी विल नो द आंसर, will know that at least this will be wrong or that statement will be wrong. So stuff like that.
True. अच्छा, एक और चीज इधर पे अभिजीत, one more very interesting thing, optional. Like how would you advise somebody to pick up optional, because you have been switching optional. You went from electric but from electric, because I think switching optional takes a lot of hard work, क्योंकि आप इतना मेहनत डालते हो optional को करने में, उसके बाद suddenly you take up another optional, so much work goes into that also, and mastering optional is a big thing. Especially if it's not your graduation subject or something like that, and it's completely new, then you really have to get the vibe of the optional, and it takes time. So how would you suggest, like the same parameters कि कौन से optional में target करो, number ज्यादा आ रहे हैं उनको, वैसे
on an average वो देख सकते हैं कि number कितना आ रहा है. Again, कुछ लोग देखते हैं कि top 10 में कितने लोग का क्या optional था. That's a very bad metric, I would say, because that doesn't fall in line with the law of large numbers. You have to see it from a large perspective कि overall average क्या होता है, कि which option works better. But even more than that, there are more practical reasons. One is the availability of study material for an optional. Electrical engineering, it was really difficult to get study material. I was already 1 year outside of the exam college cycle, so और college के books कौन ही रखता है, तो फिर it was completely new for me getting the books and everything. So material was not available. Secondly, test series and availability of test series in a regular sort of a way कि आपने आंसर लिख के दे दे, फिर आपको 1 महीने बाद कॉल करना पड़ रहा है कि सर आपने चेक किया है कि नहीं. ये सब नहीं होना चाहिए. Toppers guidance of previous years. I think anthropology optional is one in which this ecosystem is very well developed. But most importantly for me, why I switched is from technical to non-technical or humanities subject is because I realized, talking to other people and getting some seniors guidance, is that in technical subjects the evaluation is punitive, I'll explain, and in humanities it's additive. So what I mean by that is, let's say you have a 4-page 20 marker question, and in electrical engineering there's a problem that's given to you and calculations you do 3.5 pages, you do completely flawless calculation. In the last half page you come and you screw up and you get the final answer wrong. Out of the 20 marks you'll end up getting 3 or 4 because this is a technical paper. In anthropology and sociology, I can say for these two, and I have asked people, the other subjects also are sort of similar, is that the 3.5 pages के आपको marks मिलेंगे, you'll end up getting around 7, 8, or even if you have very good answer writing skills, maybe 9 out of 20. That's a very good thing that distinguishes the technical versus non-technical optional. That was the one.
Right. तभी usually technical में ऐसा होता है, if you're getting marks, you really jump up on a very high pedestal. True.
Yeah. So most of the people are it's on the lower side, unfortunately.
Yeah. But I think, chalo.
But I have a different respect for people who take their graduation subjects and score well. There are people who do that, and
a lot.
So
And especially
then
medical field, while I've seen a
Mhm.
lot of people take up that optional.
Yeah, this
So-
time rank 12 or rank 16 Miss Anshu Priya, medical
Mhm.
sciences. A lot of people are there.
Right.
Not a lot of people, but some people are there.
Mhm. Right.
I think these are the exceptions that prove the rule.
Acha, what about interview? Like you've got 195 marks and that was your
Uh-huh.
first interview. So, मतलब, what was your strategy with respect to interview? ऐसा क्या आपने किया, क्या आपने ध्यान रखा? Because ऐसा तो interview कोई भी नहीं चाहता जिसमें आपको सारे questions आते हो. I don't think that ever happens.
नहीं. That's not even the point of interview, I think, from UPSC's perspective. They don't care कि आपको question आता है कि नहीं. मेरा strategy मैम क्या था? Again, I come from ICSE background. मेरा public speaking skills were good. I would like to say that it was much better than average because I was involved in debating and all this in elocution in school as well as college. That being said, that can be a Achilles heel also in the sense that it can make you overconfident. In the first few 1-2 weeks, it made me overconfident. That मुझे सुन and since this was my first interview के बारे में पहले सोचा भी नहीं था. Mains clear है, उसके बाद सोचा कि अब बैठते हैं, इंटरव्यू के बारे में सोचना है क्या करना है. उसके चक्कर में वो बैठने के चक्कर में 1 महीना तो यूट्यूब और नेटफ्लिक्स में चला गया क्योंकि टाइम वेस्ट कर लिया मैंने. तो that's one thing that I would say a mistake that I would prefer people not to make. That if you are sort of have a good idea कि you clear mains, then sit for your interview because you never know how much effort it takes. So after 1-2 weeks of misguidance, I sort of started realizing that okay, mains अच्छा गया है, बहुत अच्छा मेहनत किया, तो I should not take this lightly. I realized that there are 2 aspects. One is the soft skills part, the personality and your way of communication. And the second part is the material. There is this myth, I would say, that goes around that UPSC is not a test of knowledge, it's only a test of personality. But then empty vessels sound much. So you can have an extremely good personality, sit down with 5 people, not get bogged down by the pressure. But still, if your material that you're spewing out from your mouth, if that's not good enough, then you're not going to be able to impress other people. And I come from West Bengal, which sometimes is in the news for a lot of reasons. Then Darjeeling, then electrical engineering. Both my parents are doctors. So this concoction of profile is a very fertile ground for a lot of questions, especially from India's perspective. So I had to prepare very, very thoroughly, very, very thoroughly. So I mean, I gave the CivilsDaily mock interview, the questionnaire that you gave, DAF questionnaire, that helped. The feedback that I got, that also helped. So I would say the strategy is first to understand where your strengths and weaknesses lie, and work accordingly. Some people, the strength can be the communication skills, like it was in my part. So I had to work almost solely on the material part. But for some people, it can be both. So you have to work a lot for both. So मुझे एक चीज बताया गया था कि the interview very quickly delves into opinion based questions, and that's a good sign because they have already seen the other parts. That's good. They just want to see your opinions. So ये मेरे actual interview में भी हुआ था. So my actual interview went on for around 55 minutes. So that was one thing which made me realize कि अच्छा चलो बड़ा अच्छा गया interview. अब इस बार chance हो सकता है. So it was a great experience, this interview. I would say even if I wouldn't have cleared it, this exam, चाहे कुछ भी होता, I would say the biggest thing that I got from this entire process is the last few months where I got to meet a lot of exceptional people through the mock interview panelists and everything. Some very, very high ranking civil servants retired who have done very, very good things for our country. So I think this interview process was the icing on the cake for me.
Right, true. And I think the experience itself is completely different. Like any mock you give and suddenly you go into the interview, it's suddenly different from that. No mock can match the reality
no mock
of
can
that.
Match. Yeah.
But I think mocks do prepare you for some level.
Of course, very, very much. I mean, very, very much. And in fact, there are some mocks which can in fact match your interview process. I would say CivilsDaily mock was similar, not completely same, but similar to the actual interview mock. Although I gave an online mock, but the questions that were asked, the way the questions were framed, it's more about the way things happen rather than exactly what happens. They can ask you a question which you might not know the answer to. Like I can give you one small example, like the keeping your eyes and ears open wali part. So they asked me that, so Abhijit, you come from West Bengal, so where are you staying in Delhi these days? So this is my real interview. So I said that, sir, I'm staying in the state guest house of Bengal, which is Bongo Bhavan. So, and then he asked me that, so where is this located? I said, sir, there are 2. One is in Chanakyapuri and the other is in near Connaught Place. I'm staying in the Connaught Place one, which is on Haley Road. So when I said this, he asked me something which I hardly had expected. He asked me, so on Haley Road, do you remember any other building that is of importance? So, and somehow I later on I realized, okay, so it happened that while I was traveling to that place, and it was completely unrelated to UPSC and anything. I was just traveling in an auto, and I saw that as we entered the road on the right side, there is the Iranian embassy. So I said that there is the embassy of Iran, and that really like impressed the interviewer, in the sense that he even if I wouldn't have answered it, nothing bad would have happened. I mean, because it's not a question that I'm expected to know. But then again, the power of keeping your eyes and ears open. So that impressed him, that and I did not panic. Even if I would not have been able to answer it, I would have. Can I give one more small example, which was actually
sure.
very funny? He asked me another gentleman. So my panel chairperson was Smita Nagraj ma'am.
Right.
So she was obviously very sweet and everything. But one panel member asked me, so what can India do to improve its export of spices? Spice का export. एक तो एक्सपोर्ट का ही पता होना उस टाइम पे डिफिकल्ट है, स्पाइस का एक्सपोर्ट तो कहाँ पता होता है. तो आई वाज लाइक थिंकिंग कि क्या बोलना चाहिए. उस टाइम मेरा 11th मई को इंटरव्यू था. उस टाइम आपको याद होगा एक ऑर्गेनिक आधार बोल के एक चीज आया था, ऑर्गेनिक आधार. तो उसमें क्या होता है कि गवर्नमेंट ट्राइज टू वीड आउट द फेक ऑर्गेनिक फार्मर्स. तो आई सेड दैट ये वीड आउट होता है, एंड उसके वजह से द chemical residue in agri products will decrease, because of which there will be less rejection in the foreign countries, because US and EU, they have very high phytosanitary norms, right, very strict, so they reject most of the agri produce that we send, इसलिए export बढ़ नहीं पाता है. So he asked me this question. I started with this, that sir, I can remember 2 points. बोल के the first point I said very confidently that this वाला, ये जो organic वाला, and sir the second point is बोल के I blanked out. So it happened twice in my interview. One is in essay and second is in this. For 10 seconds, I sort of blanked out. And then without panicking, I just said, sir, when I started the answer, I could remember 2 points. Right now, I'm unable to remember the second point. I'm really sorry. I apologize. तो अभी तक मुझे second point पता नहीं है, मुझे याद नहीं आया वो क्या था वो second point जिसके मैंने बोला था. But he took it very nicely. He said, no problem, let's move on. So the point I'm trying to make is, it's not what you answer, it's also about how well you're able to handle yourself in tricky situations. The fact that I did not panic even a single bit and just kept calm and said that I started remembering 2 points, but once I finished the first point, I'm sorry, I'm unable to recall. But then he smiled and everyone smiled actually, and then we moved forward. So I think these things add rather than subtract to your overall score.
I think honestly, you've got a very nice personality here, Abhijit. Abhi tak jitna bhi I have talked to you, you're a very inspiring person. So your stories and the way you say things, it's very nice. So I think well deserved all this hard work that you got out, and your journey is something that is very very nice. I think few things I'll remember those points which I talked about to you, that in sitting in mains, writing your strategy. So this is something new for me. Nice. Acha, before we end the interview, let's take one last question here. You said you made a lot of mistakes in your attempt, right? So 3 things that you learned from your mistakes, which you would tell any newcomer, somebody who's just starting with this preparation, to take care of, so that his preparation or her preparation goes on track. 3 things which you think. I
think, and this is again a very broad thing because it's hard to say subject wise. Work very 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 hard in the initial days to select your sources and make the perfect notes that you think you can, but then come out of that note making cycle and get into the revision and practice cycle, and in that cycle you will know some extra things that you can add to your notes. But don't, like, before your prelims 1 महीना बचा and you're studying new things, ये मत कीजिए. आप notes बहुत 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 मेहनत से starting वाले time में बनाइए. You take the best help that you can. See YouTube, see your coaching wale experts, anyone. You select your sources, select multiple sources if you want, but make the best possible notes that you can. But then come out of that cycle and get into the revision and practice cycle fast, because it is revision and practice only that will help you clear this exam. Then comes answer writing, the most important skill that is required. If you ask me what is the most important skills required for UPSC, I would say it's oral communication and written communication. Written communication in mains, oral communication in prelims. That is it. I mean, prelims, written communication in mains and oral communication in interview. Prelims, मुझे पता नहीं क्या होता है, वो अभी भी समझ नहीं आया मुझे. But mains and interview, it's very interesting and very nice sort of journey. If you get the part right, you can do well. And I think, ma'am, the third thing is select your support system very well, because this is an exam where there will be more lows than highs. I think this is one thing that we don't even talk about much, the importance of mental health, doing the yoga if needed, talking to very nice people who will be pushing you up rather than pulling you down, because that is going to happen. That has happened with everyone. I mean, no person is immune to this, that most of the time you're going to feel this imposter syndrome that I am here good for nothing. There are people who are from much better places than me, much more privileged than I am. If they are not able to do it, how can I do it? So this will constantly keep nagging you, and it'll be 70-80% of the time that it's going to happen. So you have to stay away from that. Stay away from social media, I would say. I wasted a lot of time on social media, like you were saying. The मेंस में बैठ के आंसर जो मैं स्ट्रेटेजी बना रहा था, उसमें नंबर 1 पॉइंट था reduce YouTube. तो फिर I think these things are what I would say to get it right, because other things will fall in place. I mean, if you have already chosen this journey, then you have it in you to keep going. It's just that there will be external factors that will prevent you from keeping going. So that you have to prevent yourself from getting affected by. That's what I would say.
It's been great talking to you, and
likewise, ma'am.
And we are very happy that CivilsDaily was able to be part of your journey. It contributed a bit to your preparation and help you get through. Help you get through it. So from our whole team, congratulations on getting this feat, and hope to see you do great things in future. And all the best for this journey. And thank you so much, Abhijit, for taking out your time and connecting with the students.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It was a privilege talking to you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update from CivilsDaily.